Hello and welcome to the Real Estate 360 show. This is Steve Conley, hashtag unemployable.
And I am, excuse me, and I am Jason Miles, hashtag the real estate trainer.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yes.
How
Hey,
you
you
feeling?
know, I was thinking the other day about my hashtag unemployable. I don't know if I like that or not.
I think it's pretty sharp.
Oh, do you?
It's definitely spot on, that's for sure.
Well, okay. All right. Well, I resemble that remark. So anyway, so today we're going to talk about, I don't know, a couple things, right?
Yeah.
Business, how to run the business.
Yeah, but I think more importantly, we touched on some pretty good stuff in our pre-show conversations.
Yes, we did.
About negotiations, because when I'm out here and I'm dealing with people or people are calling about properties that we have for sale, one of the things that I really, really am bothered by is when they make their initial offer and I say no,
Yeah.
it stops for them right there.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never understood that either.
Yeah. It just stops. There's no, okay, how can we make this deal work? You know, there's just no banter. There's no haggling. There's none of that, none.
Yeah.
And there should be.
There definitely should be. And I've always, I understand exactly what you're saying. It's like frustrating for me,
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah. And we don't negotiate with ourselves, but sometimes we're like, but wait, don't you want to counter? You know, and they lose it.
Perhaps there's a number, maybe somewhere in the middle that we could come up with an agreement on.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But so few quote unquote investors
Yeah.
are doing that. They don't get what they initially asked for and they just move on to the next. There's no negotiations whatsoever. And they're missing out on business because of that.
Yeah.
And we negotiate differently in different scenarios, of course. I mean, there's scenarios that I think that we'll talk a little bit about today.
Sure.
That you've been in, that I've been in, that we've been in, that are very, very different acquisition styles.
Yeah.
Could have been a foreclosure, could have been a straight purchase, could have been a loan takeover, it could have been selling, it could have been anything. And people simply don't negotiate. And there is an art to the negotiation depending on where you're following or
Yeah.
where you're falling.
And negotiating itself is really, from my perspective, doing what we're doing, at least in this particular arena,
Mhm.
is the highest paid per minute job that we have.
Mhm. I
Isn't
mean,
it?
it is what it is.
Yeah.
We did a deal last week. I think we just referenced it, but we did a deal last week that'll make us collectively
Yeah.
somewhere conservatively $60,000 to $70,000,
Right.
and that was all about negotiating. You did a deal, and let's talk about that. But wait a minute, before we talk about that deal, I want to tell everybody: make sure
Right.
that you're going to the website, real estate360show.com, and check out what we're doing, see what we have available to you, anything. We could be doing an event somewhere. We could, Steve loves to do these pop-up, I'm here on our West Side office meetings,
Right.
We'll go to our West Side office, by the way, is Panera Bread.
Yes.
It's Panera Bread. That's our West Side office.
Off of West Paces Ferry.
And we are very well known there. We could go in there for a morning meeting and not leave till 4:00. It happens.
So Miles called me the other day and he said, I said, I'm going to the West Side office to meet such and such. And he said, I'm going to be there. I said, well, listen, you take conference room A and I'll take conference room
That's
B.
right. And conference room A is the, I think that's the north side of the building.
Yeah.
And conference room B is the south side of the building.
Well, that's the big round table is conference room A with the bench.
That's right. That's right.
And the conference room B is the two occasional chairs.
That's right. That's the one where you're not going to really be, the chairs sit really deep and you can't really get to the table.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe a cookie and a cup of water, That's about it.
But on the real estate negotiating, I like it when I'm actually talking directly to a buyer or a seller.
Yes.
But you mentioned a reference. I'm going to go ahead and throw this one out here. So I found this house through networking, and I said, okay, here's the problem. You got it priced too high. Let's put Sammy, the real estate executioner on this deal.
That's right.
And let him price it out for us so that we know exactly what this will retail for and what it'll sell for realistically.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did all that. I contracted the property, put Sammy on it. He says, okay, it'll sell. Let's price it at this price, because it was like $360, and he said, no, let's got to be $325 if you want to sell it.
Right.
And look, I don't have any money in this. I'm not emotionally attached to this house.
Well, wait a second. Let's go backwards for a second, because I know we've talked about this deal before, but there's multiple levels of negotiations here.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you had to negotiate the acquisition of this property.
Correct.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk about how you got the deal. So we know that it came to you through a networking event, but then you had to negotiate with the owner.
Right.
To actually do a subject to, basically.
So at the networking event, this lady says, oh, I know somebody who really needs and wants to sell a house. And I said, okay, give me their number. And so I called her, and she said, yeah, I got to sell this, I said, well, let's meet and let's talk about it. And I got the address and I said, wow, it looks fantastic. Completely renovated, a little bungalow down in the west side. And look, staged. She had been doing Airbnb on it. That wasn't at the current time when I picked it up, it wasn't really working out. So the payments were through the roof, because now she'd gone beyond the term of her mortgage. So this little $325,000 retail house, monthly payments were $5,200 a month.
That's incredible.
That's hard money and extension fees and anything else they can think of. So she's highly motivated to sell it. So I just met with her, and so we worked out a deal where I said, look, I could take it and you'd be happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit of reverse negotiating. I'm not always, out for blood.
Right.
I'm trying to help in a situation that I've got no money in this. I know she's got a ton of money in it. She's maxed out her credit cards.
Yeah. Some
other issues are going on, in her life,
but you've identified her pain.
Exactly.
Right. And now
she needs to get rid of this thing.
Obviously it's a money issue. You know that, but now it's, look, I can't buy this from you because it doesn't fit our purchase model, the way we buy properties, actually physically buy them. So what did you do? Tell our listeners what you did to convince her.
It didn't take a whole lot.
It was in her best interest to just hand over the keys.
Well, it didn't take a whole lot. I said, look, I can help you with this, and this is what we need to do. And here's what I propose. And I started out with, listen, let's just do a percentage. You get this percent and I get that percent of the net after we get finished.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being, I said, well, there's some really nice furniture in there. I need it for our B&B.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed it up, and I said, look, I need the furniture out of here, and then 50-50. And she said, okay. But then she said, but I need the washer and dryer and something else. Anyway, I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. And so, I want to step into their shoes too.
Right.
And get on both sides of the table while I'm negotiating, at least in my mind. I'm not going to run around and do that, but I wanted to see it from both perspectives.
Right. So then you negotiated with her about everything, literally from the kitchen sink to the paycheck.
That's right.
Right.
Literally.
So
from the sofa to the sink to the security system, the washer and dryer, and then there's more.
Yeah. But ultimately, she just handed over the keys, and 100% of the profit goes to the company.
Correct.
Yes. So that in and of itself is a skill, because she went from, let's split the profits, to no, I don't want anything, take it all. And in a very short period of time.
Right.
Literally a day or two.
Right.
So now you have it. She signed all the documents, and this is a subject to deal, right?
I'm just going to do a simple contract.
Simple contract, and basically assigning that off.
It'll either be a double closing or an assignment.
Yep.
Depending on how we end up, because I don't know how this is going to end up.
That's right.
Because there's way more negotiations going on
That's right.
Now that it's there. Now, of course, during the transaction that we were doing on the purchase, she tells me, "Oh, by the way, there's a mechanics lien on this property." I said, "Okay, how much and why?" And she said $8,000 because this investor guy, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's $8,000. And so I said, "Who's it with?" And she told me, and I said, "Oh, I know him."
Yep.
Okay.
And that was another level of negotiating, because now, in order to create profit,
Yeah.
you had to call him up, which you have a good relationship with him,
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, listen, we need to work this out. I know that you have this, but in order for you to get anything, we've got to be able to sell it, and we can't sell it with these kinds of fees. What can you do?"
Exactly.
And he worked it out with you. You guys came to an agreement to reduce that.
Well, we came to an initial agreement,
Yeah.
which was down to $5,000. But things changed and then I had to call him.
That's right. That's right. And let's talk about those changes after the break.
Yes, do. Let's do.
We'll buy your house. Click 833willbuy.com. That's 833WELLBUY.com.
Or call 833-WILL-BUY.
Se habla español. Llámanos. Call us today.
And we're back talking about the negotiations.
I was going to say those exact same words.
How about that?
You're in my head, man.
It's not a big leap, from there to here.
So we get now to this negotiation, the couple of negotiations that you've had to do with the other investor that had this mechanics lien.
Right.
So you came up with an initial
$5,000.
So
I saved $8,000. Now, I want to point that out. That took maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's $3,000 in 5 minutes.
That's right.
So what does that equate to per hour? I don't know.
That's a lot.
It's
That's a lot. It's Michael Jordan numbers.
Yeah, $60,000 an hour.
Maybe not quite Michael Jordan numbers, but it's pretty close. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money.
that's not bad money. But
So you had to go back, though.
well, okay. So here's what happened next. So I said, okay, and he was a little angry. Let's say that, because he wasn't real happy with the way the transaction worked out with his client and all that. So
Yeah.
I was just cheerful, That's all. And so then we get an offer on this thing pretty quick, and these people want to.
No, wait, but you're still negotiating everything. But while you got the paper, you actually, when you got the contract, you started the process of marketing this property with Sammy.
Well, yeah, what I did was I called Sammy, and we'd already gotten our numbers established. I signed the listing agreement. He put it on the market. He started doing his thing.
Yes.
And getting it out there. And
while that's occurring,
Yes.
you're still negotiating
correct.
other aspects of this deal.
Yeah, that all started before I even went back to this mechanics lien.
Yeah. So, and the point being here is that you don't have to wait until everything is what you think perfect is
Yeah.
to start marketing, right? So as soon as
Excellent.
you got the contract,
Yeah,
it's time to sell, because time is money.
absolutely.
Because that mortgage didn't
Yes.
stop ticking. There was a daily cost to continue to have that house, and it's constantly eating away at whatever profit there is in there. So once you got the contract, you immediately started the process to get this thing sold, even though you knew you still had to do some level of negotiating inside the deal.
Yes.
Yes.
We had to negotiate with the current realtor too, by the way, that had the property. He was part-time, but that was really
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
She said, "Yeah, I'm out."
That's right. 'Cause she didn't know what she was doing really anyway.
No.
So that was good. That was done. And now Sammy's doing his thing. He's getting it out there. You're negotiating with the moving parts in the middle,
Yeah.
right, to get that down. Were there any changes to your initial arrangement with this investor that was in the middle from the 5,000? Did the number change anymore?
Oh, the mechanics lien.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because here's what happened next is we got an offer. And so they offered 310 and 5,000 or 10,000, I can't remember.
Yeah.
A seller contribution, which netted about 300. And I said, "Oh, that's not going to work," because the loan on this is huge. It's like 270.
Yeah.
And so, there's not a lot of spread there to work with, right?
Right.
And then, of course, I don't know. She hasn't made payments for a while, and at 5,000, that adds up pretty quick.
It does add up.
So I'm not 100% sure where we are, but I'm thinking 280.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in there, maybe a little more. So I'm thinking 280. That's going to leave nothing at that offer.
Yeah.
So I countered it it was 325. So I said, look, it's got to be 325. Was our asking price.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and we will do 5,000 in seller contributions.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to write it up as 320 and 0 seller contributions, it doesn't matter to us.
Right.
How are
It's
you
the same anyway it
Same
goes.
thing. And so they countered like 4 or 5 times that number that day.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
said, and Sammy's calling me like every 20 minutes, He said, well, now they countered this. I said, listen, Sammy, listen carefully. Counter 325 and $5,000 in seller contributions, which is the same thing I said before. I just said it over and over and over again. And finally I said, look, Sammy, here's what's going on. They're just nibbling at this point.
Yeah.
They're negotiating. And so he said, yeah, this realtor on their side is a fantastic negotiator. Yes. And I said, yeah, she's persistent as hell. And I said, but look, they're going to do it because they need to move, and they need to move in by the 21st because that's when the closing date is.
Mm.
I said, just stick with your numbers for me, please. And
Right.
so they finally agreed. But that's not where it ends by any means.
So which brings us to the next chapter in this saga, right?
Yeah.
You've now got a buyer.
Yep.
And the buyer is now going through, you've negotiated to acquire this property. You've negotiated the sales price and the sale of this property. And now through this process of dealing with realtors, retail sales, and lenders, now you have to go through the inspection aspect of it. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this deal is because there are so many levels of negotiating, and it happens this way a lot. You negotiated to get it. Then you had to negotiate with the people in the middle. Then you had to negotiate the sales price. There's an option at the very end to maybe have to negotiate with the current lender on some of the fees, possibly. But the inspector comes in.
Right.
The inspection report is back, and it is a laundry list of issues.
Yes.
The buyer's agent seems to think it's going to cost anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000 to fix everything on that list.
Right.
So now for us and the way we sell, we're like, okay, what on this list can you live with? What on this list can you not live with? Let's do that first so we can shorten the list for us and things that we have to either repair or pay for, right? So we want to shorten that list. So right now you're in the process of those negotiations.
Well, yes, and that's exactly how I was approaching it. But what happened was the buyers came back and said, listen, we'll just handle everything. We'll sell it as is, and we want you to discount it. And they had initially said $15,000, but actually they came back yesterday, by the way. This was yesterday, with 20. They said, take 20 off and we'll just take it as is. And I said, not likely.
Right.
Because Sammy had already told me that they had already said that 10 was their minimum number. And so I told Sammy, I said, look, I would start at 75 and go with that. And 10 would be my maximum number. So what I told him actually yesterday was, I said, just make it, or that was the day before yesterday, just make it 10,000. Let's just cut to the chase and see if we can't get this thing done.
Right.
Well, then they came back with 20. I said, okay, they're posturing again.
Yes.
And I said, so I told Sammy, I said, I can't do 20. I don't know what I can do. I got to get a payoff.
Yeah.
To find out where we are.
That's right.
At this point.
And that could very well lead into yet another negotiation.
Oh, it's definitely going to be.
Right. So you have to be prepared as an investor to kind of deal with anything that can come up. You don't know what's going to come up until you've actually done it, but anything can happen at any given time. The negotiations never, ever stop. We just finished a deal that we initially intended on making a pretty, I think it initially was like what, 60,000 we were going to make on that deal.
Yeah.
But there wound up being this is the Dunlap 5.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we had a 5-unit building that we were working on, and we got it under contract, but there were title issues. There were 5 separate owners, and they were spread out all over the world, literally all over the world. None of them were in America.
yeah. You had the closing attorney say, "We have never seen."
That's right. I mean, it was a vicious deal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 10, 11 months, almost 11 months.
We got to talk about that when we come up on the next segment. But I want to kind of wrap up one or quick things on this other.
Yeah.
Because now I'm finding what my numbers are on this house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, okay, if I could get it like 75 or even 10,
Mhm.
where can I make some of the difference up? And so I went back to the mechanics lien guy and I said, listen, this is getting brutal. I said, I sent you this inspection report.
Yeah.
Was it your contractors that did this?
Yeah.
And he said, he didn't really answer me. Got kind of quiet.
Yeah.
So-
Which is the answer.
That's right.
That's right.
So he said, well, listen, whatever, He kind of said whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, I can probably get this for 2.
Yeah.
Get it released for 2,000. He said, write it up and I'll sign it, whatever it is. And
He just wants something.
yeah, exactly. And so I'll have to come back to tidy that up
Yeah.
and firm up the numbers once I get the information from the actual lender, what the payoff is.
Mhm.
And then my lady that I'm buying it from, she's talking to him and she already suggested that they help out with some of the fees.
Mhm.
But that's not going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and we,
But it's possible that the lender can reduce some of those fees. I mean,
well, he wants a BPO. He wants the numbers.
it's going to take too long.
It's going to take way too long, and then he's going to say, "Well, you're making money," even though she's not making money.
Right.
She's got cash in it, but there's cash coming out at closing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is what it is. But listen, that's a great example. Let's take a break and talk about a couple other
Let's talk
examples.
about the Dunlap fight.
You got it.
Do you need to sell your house? Well, our company will buy your house. We make the process very fast, very easy, and it's all cash. All you have to do is give us a call today.
We'll buy your house. Click 833willbuy.com. That's 833WELLBUY.com.
Or call 833-WILL-BUY.
Se habla español, llámanos, call us today.
Hey, we're back, and we're getting ready to talk about the Dunlap 5.
Yes, the infamous Dunlap 5.
Yes.
This was one of the wickedest deals I've ever done. I think it was the wickedest.
When did you start this?
So this is a deal that we got through one of our events, through a young lady that comes to our events.
Yes.
And she said, hey, listen, I've got this opportunity. I don't know what to do with it. Can you look at it? And we went and looked at it, and we're like, okay, this is right up our alley. It's bad shape. It's a multifamily, a small multifamily, but nonetheless a multifamily. We can do something with this if we get it at the right price.
And this is initially I would say it's not up our alley because it's a burn property.
Yeah, and we don't do a lot of those.
No, we
don't do a lot of those at all. But once we had the contractors look at it and say, hey, listen, this isn't as bad as it looks.
Exactly.
We got the engineering report. I mean, we put some effort into some money, some resources into understanding this property.
Yeah.
Do we want to do it? Is it worth our while? So we spent, a little bit of money and a little bit of time making sure that it wasn't as bad as it looked. We went down and talked to the city. We wanted to make sure that, this thing wasn't going to be condemned. And we knew that it wasn't, but we wanted to have something tangible that we could give to a lender and say, look, this is what the city believes. They've already got some of the units rented. There's only 5 left. But this is what the city believes. Here's the engineering report. And here is what the contractor says that is wrong with it and what it's going to cost to fix it. So we had some ammunition going into lending because we knew when you look at it, it
looked ugly.
wasn't appealing at all. Not
I
appealing.
mean, when you've got burn damage through the roof and 3 of the units don't really have a roof,
right.
you
You got to think
It's
about that.
not pretty. You
That's
know?
right.
Now, most people would walk away from that.
And most people did.
Yeah.
But we're looking at it, and once we had all the reports in, we knew, okay, this is just a roofing system.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's a whole roofing system, but it's not as bad as we initially thought.
And it's because these are townhouses and the fire actually happened upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really do a lot of damage downstairs.
No, it's just a little bit
Like
of
a
water
roofing
damage.
system.
That's
Yeah.
right. So we get into this thing and say, all right, we start negotiating with the guy on the price of these properties. We get a pretty decent price on them. We sign the contracts. We brought a lender in because we were going to buy those initially. That lender wanted to start with their attorney, which I'm kind of thankful that they did.
Yeah.
Right? Because at that point, they realized probably took them about 3 or 4 weeks to say, this isn't going to be a normal deal,
Right.
right? Because, again, there were 5 owners, and all 5 of them are spread out around the globe. None of them were in America.
Literally, what, 4 different countries?
4 different countries.
Wow.
4 different countries with different processes for them to have to sign. But the title work was all screwy, and how they bought them and when they bought them and who had this lien and what that lien was. It took several months just to get to there. This was a total
It took about 6 months just to get the documents back, didn't it?
Once we got them situated,
Right.
it took about 2 months once they were emailed out to them. It took another 2 months for them to send it back, only to find out that 3 of them had signed it wrong.
Of course.
Okay.
They don't speak English.
It was absolutely horrific. It was terrible. So while they were going through that, all of the sellers were fine. They were just, we want to get it done. We want to get it sold. We want to get our money back. Let's just do what we have to do. And once their paperwork was finally back, and the attorney had to then, approve everything, the title company, had to then approve everything, the 3 of the sellers started to kind of lose it. Now, because they were like, all right, now you have your documents, send me my money. But They thought it was going to happen that fast. And at this point, we're already, I think, 8 months in.
Oh, yeah.
We were already 8 months into this deal, and now they're pushing for more money. Well, your extension, we're not going to sign it unless you give us more money. And at that point, you feel obligated to make some money. So you start to
Yes.
negotiate. You start to negotiate with them. Okay, I can't give you this much. I can give you this much. We'll go up this much. And, we did that. And I'm giving the abbreviated version of this story because it just goes on and on and on and on. The conversations, having to go through the attorney to have the conversations, using third-party people that have email communications with this. I mean, there were a lot of miscommunications. There was a lot of greed associated with this deal from other people, the intermediates.
Yeah, intermediates. I was hoping you would say that.
Yeah.
Because you had a guy in the middle of all this.
There were
That
actually 2
was
people in the middle.
2 people in the middle.
But which was invited by, because, okay, so initially it was just us and the main intermediate, right? The
Right.
gentleman who was representing all 5 sellers.
Mm-hmm.
But we had an agent on that deal as well. And that agent brought in a broker who was also a wholesaler who was trying to figure out how he could maximize his profit potential in this deal, right? That
And he did
person,
that.
and he definitely did that because they were dealing with someone who really wanted the property because we wound up wholesaling.
Yeah.
We didn't go through the acquisition. We made some larger multifamily acquisitions. So instead of us going through with the purchase of this, we decided in the middle there, probably around about 3 or 4 months in, that we were going to just go ahead and wholesale this.
Yeah.
And we went on and bought, 60 units right after that, I believe. That's when we made that decision.
Yep.
And it was just constant negotiation with the sellers representatives, all the intermediates, getting these fees down, renegotiating the sales prices, not only with the sellers, but with the buyer, and figuring out how to do that because the underwriting process for the buyer, our buyer, was so intense. This lender was so intense, they actually did background searches on everyone associated with the deal. Never seen that before.
Wow.
I know that they can do that. They reserve the right to do those things, but they did background checks on me. They did them on the buyer. They did them on the intermediate, the initial intermediate. They did it on the broker. I have never seen something like that. Most people would have walked away from this deal a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're watching our profits go down, down, down. We're watching the expense of this thing go up, 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 and up, because your typical closing costs are going to be maybe $3,000. You know,
Yeah, if that.
If that.
That would be high.
Yeah, but you've got to pay for their time.
Yeah.
Okay, the attorneys spent an enormous amount of time chasing these people down, communications, international telephone calls, you know, international packages that they have to pay for to come back. I mean, they emailed everything to them, and so they only had to pay for it to come back once.
Right.
In some cases, twice, because they had to get them re-signed. But those something that would have cost on the high end about $3,000 wound up costing $11,000.
Wow.
Okay, $11,000.
But it is 5 properties.
It is 5 properties.
Yeah.
But we're talking per property.
Oh,
Okay, they had to discount some of their fees so we could get the deal done.
they charged $11,000 per property.
Well, it's 10 months worth of work.
Oh, yeah, but
You
not
know.
full time.
No, I mean, I'm just tough. It's tough. It was tough, and they discounted it, but still, everyone had to chip in. We chipped in.
Yeah.
The seller, excuse me, or the intermediate had to chip in some money. Even the buyer chipped in extra money on the closing cost.
Wow.
That's how bad he wanted this deal.
That's pretty bad.
He wanted this deal really, really bad. In the end, the bank won. You know,
Yeah.
the bank and the attorneys. I mean, of course, the attorneys always win, right? I mean, we didn't have any money in this deal either, and we walked away. Our take on it was just under $11,000. You know, 10 months worth of work. I mean, and you also have to understand our work is the ring. Has the title come in yet?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I'll send you an email. You know, and we would send emails until we'd probably have 4 or 5 communications with the attorneys on a weekly basis.
So it's not a bad part-time job.
No,
I mean, really.
no, and then that's it.
And then you
But
do your other stuff.
It gets super frustrating. You know, we watched $60,000 in potential profit get reduced to $10,000 and change, right?
Yeah.
It took almost 11 months to do the deal. Constant negotiating with the attorneys, negotiating with the lender, negotiating with the intermediates, negotiating with the sellers, renegotiating with the buyer several times. I mean, it just didn't stop.
You know, my hat's off to you for sticking with that. I know I've talked to you many times when you were like, I just can't believe what's going on here.
I
with
mean,
these
there were
crazy people.
Absolutely. There.
I probably would have lost it a long time
One
ago.
of the intermediates even tried to circumvent us in the deal.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and we had to threaten list pendants on these properties to get them to back off.
You know, I only know maybe one other person who would know enough to be persistent enough to get that thing done.
Yeah. Who is it? You?
Me.
That's right.
Yeah. but there's a few. I'm sure there's a few other ones. I just don't know who they are.
That's
you know?
right. That's right.
And
But, I mean, just the patience to go through it. To be honest with you, most people would have just.
I'd
walked
come
away
up
from
short on the patience side. I think maybe, but maybe.
But
maybe
we got to
not.
pay off, right? We
Yeah.
made some money.
Yeah.
You know, it was. I
was
think
painful.
that was our first money for 2020.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, we
and
had
that
one.
rhymed actually. First money for 2020. Hey.
Well, no, we had did we have an investor come in? Oh no, that was 19, wasn't it? Into one of our multi.
Yeah, that was at the end of 19,
That
right
was
after
at the end of
Christmas.
19. You're right. That
Yeah.
was our first money.
That was our first money for the year. That was pretty good. But listen, we're going to take a break. We're going to talk a little bit more about negotiating
Yeah.
in a couple different circumstances and tell you what we got coming up so you can come and see us.
Hi, this is Sammy with Sammy Hadid Real Estate Keller Williams. Are you looking for a top producing agent who will look out for your best interests, top dollar on the sale of your home, a well-negotiated contract, an efficient closing? Please call me at 305-978-4249. I'm more than happy to set up a consultation. I'll put together a proposal for you to net top dollar for your home, what it is that I'm doing to get all my homes sold. Then you can decide what's best for you. Again, I'll do whatever it takes to get your home sold for top dollar, and I promise you that I will protect your equity with my life. 305-978-4249. Sammy Hadid, Hadid.
And now we're back. And now we are back. And now we can begin the end.
We can begin the end. I don't know.
So, Steve,
Yeah.
I know that you and I can go on and on and on and on about these negotiations, right?
Sure.
And these great stories that we have, the tough stories, the tough times, just the intricacies really of negotiating. But it all boils down to one thing for me, and that's understanding who you're talking to.
Sure.
And that personality, because there are a lot of personalities out there. And, there's the person that wants to win the negotiation. There's the person that wants to just get the deal done, stuff like that. Like, I'm the person that wants to just get the deal done.
Right.
That's winning for me, right? But there are people that have to feel like they won in the negotiation process. Like, we did a multifamily deal, right? We bought this place for, initially we were buying it, our initial offer was 1.1, and there were a lot of negotiations.
Oh, yeah, that one. Right.
Yeah, a lot of negotiations going on in there. And in the end, we agreed on a price
Right.
of 1.25, which was slightly above our max, but not enough to say no to the deal. And the owner, one of the owners, there were two of them, one of the owners came back after he put that number out, and I said yes. He came right back just before we were signing the contracts and said, I need 1.26, just so he could feel like he was winning.
Yes.
Just so he could feel like he was winning. That is it.
He already won.
He already won. I already said yes.
Yeah.
The price was literally only $15,000 more, which is why on something that big, it really didn't matter. But then he comes right back with this $10,000 bump so he can feel like he's winning.
He's nibbling.
That's right.
That's the negotiation skill.
Oh, I hated it. and frankly, I told the agents that both of them, our representative and his representatives were very frustrated with him.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I'm not going to do it. We're already paying more. We've been going through this now for over a month. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. Tell them deal is dead.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Love
a done deal. And I got off the phone. 2 minutes later, maybe 3, the agents call me back and say, listen, we're just going to pay the 10. We're not calling him back. We're just going to pay it. So, you're going to get a $10,000 credit from what we're going to get, and we're just going to split it 50-50. I said, and then I started to negotiate on our agent's behalf.
Okay.
Right? Because they were only giving our agent 2 points, and they were getting 3 points. Right? I said, no, that's not fair. That's not equitable. You guys already shaved a point off of her. Why should she have to pay half of that? You guys got to split it right. If you're getting 60% of the profit on this, you should pay 60% of that, and she should pay 40%.
Yeah.
That's
or
only fair.
Bring everybody up to 50% and then pay 50%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, fine. I said, shoot me the addendum. I'll sign it, and we're good to go. But I had to negotiate not only for us, but for her, because it was just right.
Well, I have a question. Why wouldn't they just go back to that guy and say the deal's dead?
Because we'd been there before.
Okay.
Because if you remember, when we were moving up to the 1.25, our number was, 1.235 maximum. And
Right.
we were at that point at 1.2, and he wanted, they initially wanted 1.1 or 1.2, excuse me. We offered 1.1, but right in the middle, they raised the price to 1.6, which was just a ridiculous number. So there was just back and forth, but we already pulled our offer off the table at 1.2.
Right.
And then they brought the deal back. You know, the agent that was, or the broker actually that was representing the buyer said, all right, listen, we want to do this deal. You have to come back to the table with this. This is the best we're going to get. And these guys are closers.
Yeah.
And it's right here, right now.
Right.
I've already spoken to their lender. They're ready to close. So the money is on the table. You're the one holding it up. And that's when that whole 1.25 to 1.6 thing came to fruition.
Well, I understand that, but wouldn't it be even more powerful because you've already exited out of this thing once?
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, we're done again. It's over again.
They didn't want to go. They just wanted to check.
They just wanted it.
They just wanted to check. Yeah.
So he wore them down. He didn't wear.
Because I told them where I'm out.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to take that back to him.
I understand.
Because they would have then had to start that whole process over with someone new who wasn't going to give them. I mean, I'm not going to say they wouldn't have given them what we would have given them, but it would have taken some time in a secondary market. You know, all that comes into play with the amount of work that needed to be done to the property, dealing with the tenants. You know, those kinds of things a lot of people are going to take into account, especially if they're going to be buying in a secondary market as that property is in. Yeah. You know, so there's a lot that comes into play there. Yeah, you know, and I'm always willing to do it. I like it. I enjoy it. You know, I just, you know, I'm not the guy that's going to go to the grocery store and haggle over the price of, you know, tomatoes. You know, I'm not going to do that. I don't like to go to the farmer's market and haggle over the price. I've been to places where, you know, there's no price on anything, and you just have to haggle. I'll give you 2 bits for that.
Right.
You know. And then you go back and forth. That's not my bag, man. It's not my bag.
I'm with you on that. I don't like taking things back to the grocery store. You know,
I got a whole shelf full of stuff I refuse to take back. It's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to want to. Home Depot is my thing. I buy stuff at Home Depot all the time. I go to Home Depot. I buy light bulbs, wrong size light bulbs. You know, it doesn't screw in over there. I don't feel like taking it back right now, though, and it sits on the shelf in the garage. I know that I'm going to go back to Home Depot sometime this week. At least, you know, I'm going to drive by it. It's going to be right there. I can just put it in the truck and take it back.
Gets there.
But what happens is you run around all day. It never gets there because you run around all day and you're on your way home and you see the Home Depot sign, but it means you have to turn right.
But, you know, we're talking about
you got to do all this stuff, man.
We're talking about mindset. Talking about mindset here a little bit, right? Or just differences.
Yeah.
And so that brings to my mind the difference between the entrepreneur mind and the employee mind, rather.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. It's huge, you know, especially these corporate guys that have been working in corporate for 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
You throw them into the entrepreneurial environment, and they are totally lost.
They are. I mean, a lot of them, you know, they just, people get used to stuff. You know, they get used to processes, used to, you know, getting paid on Friday or every other Friday or whatever it is. And there's a routine that develops in their life, especially if they have a family. You know, the whole family is used to this routine. And when you start shaking it up, that's very uncomfortable for people. But it's in that discomfort that you can truly rise. But you got to get there mentally.
What I've seen them do, especially when they've been, you know, maybe early retirement, when they're 40 or 50 years or older even.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they look at it and they say, well, this is not my job. You know, like, it is your job, you know. Yeah. All of it's your job. And I've just seen them go down in flames because of that.
That's right. Well, they don't take it serious.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to, but they don't, you know.
And that kind of jumps us back into the Dunlap 5. And we were talking about most people would just walk away from that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been in a house, you know, I bought houses that needed, you know, a lot of work. And I've had people walk in and they say, why don't you just tear this down and start over?
Yeah, exactly.
I think we talked about that once or twice.
Yeah.
And, but no, so it takes a level of understanding when you walk into these things.
That's for sure, without a doubt. I mean, we've had multiple properties where people have told us just that.
Yeah.
And then they come and see the end result and they're like, I don't know how you did it. This is fantastic. You guys actually sold this?
Yeah, right. You
You know?
fixed it. And sold it.
Yeah. It really does happen.
Yeah, that
You know?
was like that White Oak house.
That was a perfect example, actually.
Man. Oh,
Perfect
my God.
example, actually. That was a house we got for little or nothing. We put a ton of work into. It was absolutely the worst house in the neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not a great neighborhood,
It's
at the
changing.
time.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
It's a time.
No one
it
even
was-
thought we were going to sell it,
Yeah, all right.
except us.
Yeah.
That's
We-
perfect example of willing things into existence.
We
you know?
knew. We knew exactly. Bringing the unseen to the scene.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. The underdog. I'm with that. It's Dean
that
right
house, listen, I'm going to give them a real quick description because I know we need to talk about some
Yeah.
housekeeping. But that house had a hole in the roof
there. Big one.
as big as a semi-truck
Yeah.
and a corresponding hole in the floor
Yeah.
right under that hole.
It's like a meteor just fell on the house.
Yeah, that's a great description of that. Yeah, but
You had to be very careful where you stepped in there. It was something else.
take this last minute to tell people how they can find out.
So listen, I do want to say one thing. We have a lender, Sohin in New York.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Sohin called me yesterday. He said, I didn't know you had a podcast, and subscribed and listened to a few episodes, of course, and subscribed and called and said, hey, you guys, we got to do some stuff, but he's got a huge network of people as well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Sohin. Thank you for listening. Thank you for finding us. We're on every single platform now that you can, wherever you listen to podcasts, pick us up, Real Estate 360. Listen, subscribe, engage. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like, all that great stuff, but just engage, Let us know what you want to hear, what you want to learn more about so we can share that with you because this is Real Estate 360.
and come to our next seminar, which should be this Saturday, the 15th, February
yeah.
the 15th, and we're going to talk about multifamily, how to evaluate it, how to underwrite it, how to recognize it when it's a great deal.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of engagement about the multifamily stuff.
We are. Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And listen, where can one get this information for this show? For
Well,
this
let me
event?
think. Oh, yeah. realestate360show.com.
Make sure you go and support and get what it is you want to get from us because we want to give it to you. We want to give it to you. It's Real Estate 360. We talk about everything about real estate, every aspect of it, and the business, things that you need to know to move forward in this industry and give yourself the life you want.
And this is Stephen Miles taking you from the show to the pro.
See you later.